Without clicking on.
All right, yo, welcome to Hot Takes, everybody, and we are live.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Take.
I am young Shiro, and this is Skeleton Lipstick, the
That's
best
me.
vaporwave surgeon of all, the only vaporwave surgeon, I'll wager. But we've been doing this for a little while. If you're not already familiar, we are
probably.
we're an independent art and music talk show and podcast that we put together about 4 years ago to bring only the most skilled and interesting people from within and without the scene and get to know not just them, but what they like and dislike as well. And we encourage you guys to participate in chat. Run up those arguments. Feel free to debate each other, geek out, and of course at the top of the hour we'll have questions for our guest. We're bringing to Hot Takes DVI, and if you're not familiar with DVI's work, very skilled, very special individual who has been honing her sound for quite some time. Been very active with music website and in the New York City area.
Oh, for sure. I would say one of the fast rising star in just the indie music scene in general. I think personally, I think they've got some heat.
Absolutely.
Not
only a great songwriter,
all the time, and rightfully so, because it's fantastic music. But we'll get to that in a moment. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The best thing I think is the sound font, but we'll get into all those details. If you're not a fan of DVI, you definitely will be by the time this episode is over. But again, just some ground rules. Welcome everyone, whether you're a new guest, whether you're tuning in for the first time, or you're a regular. Let's give a shout out to all of our mods and all the members of the Horde that are here tonight. The ground rules are basically feel free to punch up as much as you want. In fact, it's encouraged. Just no punching down, please. Be kind. We don't do sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, or xenophobia on Hot Takes. We also have a series of commands that you can use with the exclamation point, where you can do things like jump in our Discord, check out Spotify. Unfortunately, we did not have time to run the pre-roll, but we've got a brand new R&B best of 90s R&B, I believe, compiled by Enrail. So check out the Spotify. We got a playlist mixed just for us by Enrail. You guys can donate. You guys can follow. You can get shirts by BFant. You can check out the Hot Takes Volume 1 Vaporwave comp. All kinds of cool stuff with the exclamation point command. And then, with all that said, we're going to go ahead and start the night. I think I've covered everything. Chris is going to give us some recommendations.
Okay, yeah. So let's start over in a genre that I don't think I've given too many recommendations on lately, but I'm going to go back because there's some stuff I like there recently. And the first thing I'm going to recommend is the Future Funk album. It's by Lucky Talisman called Supersonic.
I love Lucky Talisman.
I love Lucky Talisman too, and I don't think they get enough attention because they're really good. And they made this one song back on that. They made this one song called "Not in the Mood," which was like on their split with Mecha Pilot, and that's like my favorite.
I like some of what I've heard by Mecha Pilot too.
It's fantastic as well. But this actually isn't even my rec. But I would really suggest adding "Not in the Mood" to all of your playlists, your dance music playlists. It's maybe my favorite future funk song ever written. I think it's so fun. It's so fun, and it goes to so many different places, and it's a blast. I used to play it all the time at Terminally Chill. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. But anyway, on that note, I would recommend checking out their new album, Supersonic. It's been a little while, I think, since they've had a new album, so I was very excited to see this released. It's very fun, very bouncy, very choppy future funk. They know how to organize and structure a song that will make you dance. It was not a disappointment whatsoever. It was wonderful. It's rather short, which kind of I am okay with that. I prefer it when things are short. So if you have some time, go check out the album Supersonic. My favorite song is Before We Let Go. If you kind of have been like lately thinking like, well, I'm not sure what's new in the future funk scene. I haven't maybe thought about it in a minute. Go start thinking about it again and go listen to that album. And Also, on the subject of future funk, let's go recommend another album in that genre, and I'm going to recommend maybe one of my favorite albums of the year, but one of my favorite artists in general, Superflat, Meant to Be Forgotten. I'm not sure if
You
you
do
guys
love
have
that
checked this
guy.
out. Just one of the most interesting producers around. Um, because he takes he's so many influences. He's listening to so much different music, and he is always trying to incorporate it into his repertoire through his tastes and his style. Like the art, he's just constantly growing. But it's always him, you know what I mean? And so, Meant to Be Forgotten, Young Shiro, you got to check this out. This album is crazy. It is
Last
like
time I listened to one of your
all of
recs,
his
I wasn't
albums
disappointed.
all of his albums, and I think the thing that's really interesting about Superfly is like all of his albums have a theme. And the theme is not really like a concept album so much as like an idea or a feeling or a place that he's at right now. Like every one of those albums, like Midnight Ads was all about him growing up and like all like the TV, the cartoons that were on television early in the morning, right? And how that
Oh, cool.
influenced his aesthetic taste. Well, this one's really fun. Meant to Be Forgotten. I think it's just about like all these old genres that were. It's definitely like a love letter to vaporwave, kind of actually, and all a love letter to
Fun.
2010s sort of music in general. Because he sings on this album. It gets into synthwave territory on this album. It gets
Okay.
into chill wave on this album. There's dungeon synth. Like this shit is bonkers.
Wow.
It really does feel like if you went to a supermarket or a store and the items were just a bunch of like weird music genres that were meant to be forgotten, that were like kind of overlooked. And and his cover art is great. He knows how to. He has a whole thing. I'm just so happy he's just constantly making interesting work. I think he's just one of the most playful, fun artists out there. And the other thing is he knows how to write music that people dance to because he's been a DJ for so long. You know what I mean? And you can feel that. You know.
Yep.
And don't you just love and this like the Latin American future funk producers?
I
They
was gonna
just
say he's
have
Mexican, I think, right?
they
Or
just have that special sauce. You know, they do it in a way
I
that's just
believe you
super
mean
fun.
special salsa.
Special salsa, yeah, absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
Muy
I
caliente.
apologize.
Just wonderful. I don't apologize. It is muy caliente, and I want you to muy listen to it. It's a great album. Maybe one of my favorites of the years.
Escúchalo.
Uh, yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, that was good. You're good at pronouncing things, though. That's
I'm
great.
gonna have to
Uh,
check it out.
okay, and the last album I'm going to recommend is what's it called? How do I pronounce? It's hold on, I tell you what. It's Polyglot's new album. Have you guys checked this out
Polyglot.
yet? Yeah, Polyglot. Fantastic producer. His new album from I believe Britain, the UK, Acclivity. That's it. This is I think it was released on Underwater Computing. It's a really
Acclivity.
excellently swirly, relaxing, but also tense album. He's a fantastic producer. He makes some wonderful use of filters and phasers and in I didn't know if I still wanted to hear that kind of sound, and then I put that album on, and it's great, and I love it, and I fell back in love with that kind of slushy sound because of this album, because it's really interesting, and it really goes in a bunch of different places in the songs. The songs are kind of long, actually, but they never become repetitive, which is ironic because it's vaporwave. But it kept my interest the whole time, and then I put it back on when it was done. And also, he's got a collab. The song I'll recommend is Marian Apparition, because that's got my boy on it. That's got Soulcraft, who's like one of my favorite artists of all
Okay,
time.
yeah.
And so I always happy. I've seen them. I believe they've collabed before, and I like seeing them work together. I like both those artists a lot. I like lots awesome, and check out the album. Okay,
Hell
we good.
yeah. Thank you, man. Some great recommendations in the house tonight. I'm gonna make it quick because we don't want to keep DVI waiting. But I actually had a really interesting conversation with Lux about I guess uniformity of sound within certain albums. And it kind of, interestingly enough, it kind of goes along with something you just said. We were kind of not bemoaning, but just kind of like talking about how you want to find that perfect balance between changing your sound, evolving your sound, having a variety of sounds, but not lacking completely in uniformity. Have you ever listened to an album where like it just seems like they didn't sound like the songs were made by the same person? Like, it can be fun because like it's a journey and you hear a lot of different things, but occasionally when you hear an album where like none of the songs sound like they were produced by the same person, it can be a little off-putting. Like they didn't put their special sauce as it were into the thing that they created. So I don't necessarily have like a admonishment because I'm not an artist, but we were talking about how it's a shame when producers don't really put their special touch on their collection of samples that they curated, to where you can't really listen to the album and go like, oh, that's a Luxury Elite album, or oh, that's a Skeleton Lipstick song, that's a DVI song, you know, because they just kind of like threw a collection of songs together. So like I think uniformity of sound is kind of important to a point. Like you got to find that perfect balance, Chris, where like not all your albums sound exactly the same, you know, but they evolve enough. But there's like a uniform. Like Hotel Pools is really good with that. Like his sound evolves over time, and you can tell it's him, as opposed to like another chill synth or similar sounding artist. So I guess my hot take is like, make sure to put your special sauce on it. You know.
That's okay.
Make sure that like your collection of samples sound like you. They're not just just a collection of samples that don't have your signature sound.
Yeah, or whatever medium you're using.
Yeah. And I think if you guys are music fans, and I know you are, you know what I'm talking about. When you listen to an album, we go like, wow, I couldn't tell those tracks were made by the same person. But anyways, just a thought, just thinking out loud. Love the little hearts in your picture. Thanks for the donation, Neon Pines Mall. We're gonna go ahead and get the show started, and again bring on our acclaimed guest, DVI, who is a very, very skilled, very talented, very lovely producer who we're just tickled and excited to bring to the show to let you guys get to know. And just as a reminder, please talk amongst yourselves, but hold all questions for DVI until the top of the hour. But, ma'am, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now. Welcome to Hot Takes.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, let me center you up into the screen, actually. If you could tilt it maybe a little more to your left. Perfect. I'll take care of the rest of it. Yep, now that's great. What do you... That's perfect. I don't know if you have Twitch running, but if you do, great.
I do have Twitch running. I'm doing a compare and contrast. I may be
Damn.
here.
You look good, and I can fix it. This is a very DIY outfit. But what do you think about what I had to say? I mean, I'm not a producer. I'm the only one that's like talking that's not a producer. But have you ever listened to an album where it was like there was too much variety of sound? Is that a weird complaint?
I don't know. I kind of like variety.
I mean, I do too, like, to a point.
I think my favorite, and this is actually how DVI releases usually are, where there's a degree of cohesion throughout the album, but then there's one or two wild cards where it's like, I'm going to do something completely different from like the rest of like the album's premise. Like I believe in cohesion, but I also believe in that little wild card, that little mystery song. And usually with like implementation, it was Media Prototype, which was like the breakbeat trance song, and the rest was more like kind of like J Fusion and drum and bass. And then with Reconnect, it was Acceleration Fission, which was Happy Hardcore featuring Paida, my favorite. But yeah, that one's Happy Hardcore in comparison to the techno of the rest of the record. And
gotcha.
Like, I think that variation is necessary. Like there are releases that are like very, very cohesive and sort of one particular vibe. Like Census Designated by Jane Remover comes to mind, where it was just like it feels very, very specific throughout the entire record. And it's very like
more songs. Oh, sorry.
What? Oh my god. Oh my god, I have a window in front of me. Wow.
Oh no, that was my bad. I was turning you up.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I want to make sure everybody can hear what you are saying.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Now you sound.
Let me. There we go.
If you want to turn yourself up a little bit, it wouldn't.
Action.
There we go.
Testing. 1, 2. Testing. There we go.
I can attenuate as needed.
Thank you. I love attenuation.
I do my best. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I feel validated, but I'm also like you. I do like some. I mean, if everything sounded the same, it'd be pretty damn boring, right?
Yeah, like I think there is something to be said for cohesion, but there's also something to be said for like a little experimentation within that, a little bit of like a complete surprise. Like there are albums that do that, like I don't know, something like there's this one there's this band Soft Ballet,
Okay.
and like they had a release from like the mid 90s. They're like kind of a Japanese industrial band slash like kind of proto visual kei. And that the
Whoa.
entire thing is pretty industrial, but then there's one song called Engaging Universe that's just like that's just like straight up like YMO, like Naughty Boys era YMO, but via 1995. It's great.
Wait, what's one? I know. What's YMO?
Damn,
Hold
your
on.
girl
Now-
knows
now-
some
now-
shit.
we just you named a bunch of genres. I knew them all, and then you did that one. I'm like, wait, what's that mean?
No, no, no.
Yep.
Yellow Magic Orchestra.
Oh,
They're yeah.
YMO, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was something I didn't know. I was like, oh, what?
No, you know.
Welcome
love
to
Yellow
my
Magic
world,
Orchestra.
where every other thing that gets brought up is something I don't know, and I just go,
Yeah. Also, hi Robin. I see.
"Oh
you.
yeah,
I see
Robin
you
is in the
Robin.
mix." So glad to
Yeah,
have
Robin-
them here.
Yeah, no,
Robin's
you
my
do,
bestie.
Barry.
I
You
love
do,
A lot
Barry,
of great
Thanks so
people
much.
in chat today.
You do, Barry, quite
Robin's
a lot
like-
actually in your catalog.
Sky's here,
I'm
Lux
thinking
is
of like
here.
some like Perpetual right now, which was so like
Oh,
Cocteau Twins. I love that song.
I mean, thank you. That one's one of my favorites too. Like
I
Perpetual
love that
was
song.
sort of that just kind of happened. Like I was.
Do you think you'll make more like
um,
songs? That's a really good song.
Actually, like the next releases I'm working on are basically all, like I have two things I'm working on. I'm working on a all ambient thing with like a very
Nice.
novel distribution method that I want to surprise people with. I'm very excited about it, but it's going to be all ambient and kind of almost clicks and cuts type vibes.
Ooh,
Like,
okay.
Wow, I love
yeah,
Some
that.
like
I've
micro.
listened to a lot of like like
Micro
micro
type
samples,
stuff.
like Alvin Noto, like mid 2003 Sakamoto,
Matmos
or
type
like
stuff.
Oh,
Ryo
that's the best.
Giacchetta,
I
like
love
that
that. I
kind
love
of
that era
vibe.
of Sakamoto. That's a great one.
Yeah, like I've been thinking about like that mid 2000s kind of clicks and cuts era.
Yes.
But it's gonna be like
Yeah,
that
it was like
mixed
we,
with
we,
like
used
a
to call
bit
it,
of like
we used to call it IDM, I guess, kind of
yeah,
back
I
in
Yep.
the
guess
day.
we'll call it
Yep.
IDM. But like I feel like that particular like era of like 2000s clicks and cuts has been really appealing to me, and like over
yeah. You get lost in
But
kind of the
then-
texture of the sounds.
You
Yeah,
know,
I kinda
you
wanna-
listen to like Sex and like even some Kid 606 and stuff. You, like,
Yeah. I mean, I've DJed Kid 606 in the past. Like, I sometimes have my little like breakcore segments, and I add like some sped up Kid 606 and
Oh,
like,
super
into,
cool.
Like,
I didn't think
like
about
Stella
that. That would
B
make
and stuff
sense.
like that.
That's interesting.
Oh,
But,
Turn if there's
yeah.
any chance you can turn yourself up a bit more, I've got you damn near maxed out.
testing 1, 2, 3. How about that?
That's great. That's great.
There we go.
Thank
That
you.
sounds
There we
great.
go.
Appreciate your
Okay.
help.
That's great.
Okay, so anyway, it's a bit overdriven. Well, there we go. How about now? How's this?
That's good. You're not
This is good.
redlining.
I'm not redlining. I guess it's just
Yeah.
my interface. My interface. is
Yeah,
being
it could
weird.
be. You're fine now.
But-
You're not too quiet, I don't
Okay.
think.
Cool. But yeah, there's that. I'm thinking of doing this like ambient thing, or like I'm working on this ambient thing, and then I'm working on a like straight up vocal EP, like vocal release, and it's just going to be lots and lots of like I've been thinking a lot about like shoegaze. I've been thinking a lot
Nice.
about Arai. I've been
Perpetual
thinking about
sounds
like
like you've been thinking a lot about shoegaze. Yeah.
I've been like actually like learning guitar and stuff. Like
Oh,
I
too
have
cool.
I have like an orange Strat now that's like left-handed,
Yeah.
and like I've been like thinking about that in relation to like in relation to shoegaze, or like in relation to like sort of that kind of late '90s soft melancholy Anna song vibe, like the sort of stuff you'd hear in like Akino Arai or like early Yoko Kanno before she went all jazzy. And like I've been like that's gonna be the next release after the ambient thing. But and also for some
Wow.
reason 2000s Perfume, but that's just one song. That's actually
Oh,
that's
fantastic.
probably gonna be the
Cool. All right.
aforementioned like wild card track. But
That
I
would
might
be a
release
love
that one
that.
first.
It's throw that in, the mid '90s perfume in the middle of all that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, like I was thinking a lot about like for some reason
Cool.
like I guess like indie sleaze has been coming back, that whole thing. Like
It really has.
I don't,
I don't know how I
agree.
feel about it.
I like it. I find it
You like
fascinating. It's a bit. It's a bit
Well,
cynical. The
that's
revival
what I
is
was
a bit
about to say.
cynical.
It's tough when you it's tough when you bring back these movements which are tied to a specific time, and then what does it mean when you bring it back, and how are you, what are you the context, like, did you there's more to it than just like the sleaze vibe, but that seems to be all anybody focuses on when they bring it back. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, this
much
is
Yeah.
more
also
than
tied to like the blog house stuff, and it really
Mhm.
meant
yeah.
something. It meant something too because it was the first time that you had like rock music and dance music kind of combining together and bringing people to, and like people forget about that sort of a portion of it, or
Yeah.
the
I mean,
LCD
it's it
sound
was
system thing of it, and now they look at the superficial PBR and
yeah.
American
I
Apparel
mean,
like sort of thing, which
it was also a very backwards era. Like it was very homophobic, very white, very like there's a
yeah,
reason why there was like a sort of social justice movement resurgence in like the mid 2010s because of
yeah,
that era. It was a direct sort of reply to that in a sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Very good
I could
point.
see
Very
that.
good
good.
point.
Mhm.
Can we go talk about one thing? Can we stop for 1 second? I would like to just kind of get back to. I would like to actually just ask you some questions about where your musical journey begins. And I want to rewind just a little bit to know what was the first music that you remember connecting with, just as a child or as a teenager. Like, what did you really
Um,
start? What did you really like listen to? Be like, this is like, I think I want to do. I think I want to explore this world some more of music.
Honestly, So by Peter Gabriel.
Love Peter
Oh,
Gabriel.
that's
I
awesome.
heard it when like I heard it on like an 80s revival like program when I was little.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I heard like it was very specifically Big Time because that video is insane. It's
That's
basically
a
20
crazy
years
video.
of art history condensed into a single music video. But
Yeah, that's
then
insane.
the instrumentation's like so crisp, so like upfront. And then from there I got really into Red Rain and like the sheer like atmosphere of it. Like the atmospherics, the Daniel Lanois production on that record is so perfect. And
How
I
old were
was like
you when you heard these
I was
songs?
like I was 10. And like I got really into it. I got really into that. I got really into Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears, which is probably one of my favorite
Yeah,
albums
that's
ever.
an amazing
Like,
album.
Great, well constructed
Such an
pop
amazing
album.
album.
Such beautiful synths.
specifically The Working Hour. The Working Hour
I
and
love The
Listen are
Working
two
Hour.
favorite songs off of
Yeah.
that record.
Mhm.
Great
Yeah,
choice.
that's a great album. I specifically wanted to go ahead and bought like a D50 synthesizer because of Tears for Fears.
Oh my
Awesome.
god, understandable. Though not to be very academic, but the D50 came out in 1987 and they were actually using Fairlights in the DX1, which is like basically the workstation DX7 that
Oh,
has
yeah.
like all of like the exposed dials, and I think it's a DX1. And basically L. Ron Hubbard used one and Tears for Fears. It was a very
Wow.
expensive version of the DX7 with like
I've never used one.
LEDs for like the levels and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I
Wild.
think it's a DX1. I'm pretty sure. Yamaha DX1. I love the internet. Yeah, it is the DX1.
That's amazing.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
they use that. They use like lots of Fairlight. So much Fairlight.
So much Fairlight back then.
But yeah, I mean, like I love the D50. I mean, I have a D50 right here. Like it's one of my favorite synthesizers of all
It's such an
time.
interesting synthesizer because it's
Like
like
at like this like inflection point between when people stopped using the analog and started using the digital ones, and there's so many things to manipulate on that D50 that are not really an option to manipulate on modern digital synthesizers. It's so
Yeah, not at all.
compounded with so many different things. It's a fun one.
It was the first with like it was basically the first rompler. It was the first with like onboard like ROM
Yeah.
samples, and
Yes,
in a way
yes,
it was
that's what
almost a
little-
wavetable
what the
synthesizer,
fuck-
but not quite. You can't really do the wave cycling, but yeah.
So, when did you start making music?
I started when I was like 17. Like
Okay.
I was
Very
using
nice.
like random MIDI sequencers and stuff like that.
Is that
and
the first thing you wanted to do? Is to start working with synthesizers in production because you'd been so inspired by your when you were 10 and listening to all these albums? Did you immediately think, I think I want to go right into music production, or did you try other
Actually,
instruments
no,
first?
I started out wanting to be I wanted to be a mechanical illustrator. I wanted to do like
Oh,
spaceship
really?
designs, and I guess I kind
Really?
of do that now.
Oh,
Like,
that's
all
super
the
cool.
spaceships like I
Yeah,
wanted
you
to
do.
like,
I've
that
seen
kind
some of your shit. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. Like, I shouldn't have
amazing.
brought that up when we were introducing you.
you.
I've seen that. I'm just like, oh my God, is there anything she doesn't do?
Oh yeah.
I'm a horrible photographer, actually.
Oh.
Terrible.
That
I'm the
makes
worst.
two of
Like
us.
I've actually
That's
been
okay.
told by photographers, "You're a bad photographer."
Yikes.
Oh boy,
I'm
that's a
really
bit much.
bad at it.
Go out of their way to say. Well, so oh wow, so okay, and then when did you decide that you wanted to really start going into music? That when did you
Um,
was there a certain thing, a certain catalyst for that, or
um, let's see. It was This Time of Night by New Order off of Low Life because it. No, it wasn't This Time of Night by New Order off of Low Life. It was the live version by Jonathan Demme, directed by Jonathan Demme of The Perfect Kiss by New Order.
that's
Because
my
I remember
favorite music
seeing,
video. That made me want to play
yeah,
synthesizers too. It's
yeah,
so
because I
good.
Wow,
remember
awesome.
Jillian Gilbert. I remember Jillian Gilbert looking really just
Super cool.
gorgeous, and like
Absolutely.
just looking up and like
Love that
changing,
video.
like modifying the voyatra and like starting
Yeah.
this like very precise 16th note sequence.
There's like a
and,
little
like,
smile
hearing
that
the
comes on
little-
her face too when she does
Yeah.
it too. Very
And, like,
Mona
there's
Lisa.
that, and
I
then-
know, I love that
and-
music video. It's one of my
Mhm.
favorites.
Is that, and then like when she like presses the emulator and you hear the little frog sounds, like that entire video was what got me into making music, to be honest.
That's great. That's
Like New Order is actually one of my favorite bands of all time. Like they used to be my number one. It's hard to find and have a number one favorite band ever now because I just
mhm.
listen to lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But for a while they're still one of my top 10 favorite groups.
Great choice. Seminal, I
And,
mean,
Yeah.
What was the first kind of music you started making? What did it sound like? What did you?
Honestly, it sounded very much like New Order. It was very synthesizery, very like very lots of like kind of like sequencery. It wasn't very
Yeah, like
beefy
arpeggios.
because yeah,
Or
like
sequencing,
I used like a weird MIDI sequencer and some like a Goat Tracker, which is this Commodore 64 emulation tracker.
Okay, I gotta
and,
stop for
like-
1 second. How did you start figuring out how to program things? Because this is a question I like to ask, particularly a lot of music producers is, did you read a magazine? Did you just kind of try and divine it yourself through just trial and
Divine
error?
it. I love that.
What helped you get through the initial phase of starting with that blank screen or that blank sequencer and then just being like, okay, if I do this, I do that. Like, did you have a magazine or a YouTube or a person who helped you? How did you figure it out?
It's a mix. Like, my godfather actually gave me my first drum machine, which was a Kawai.
Ooh,
your
shout out Godfather.
R100.
Oh,
Yeah,
Godfather.
yeah, he's really cool. His name is Arthur.
Did you start with the
Arthur
drum
Soda.
machine programming that first?
Yeah, I was programming that, and then I got like a Korg DW8000, and I was like playing around with that.
That's
That
a
has an
beautiful
onboard arpeggiator.
synthesizer.
And
Yeah,
then,
the big
that's
guy. I have that too.
yeah, it's like a nice like digital analog hybrid. And
Where
then,
did you
like,
get that? Well, how did you even know to get that? Was it because of New Order and you kind of studied what they were using and you're like, what can I get that's affordable and available?
my dad got it for me for Christmas
That's a beautiful gift. That's amazing.
because
that's
like
so
he
sweet.
knew
So
I
your
wanted
parents-
like a vintage. Yeah.
So your parents knew that this was something that was important to you, that you had an aptitude toward it, and they
That's really
encouraged you. They
sweet.
got you these things.
Yeah.
Shout
and
out
like I took
DVI's
piano lessons
parents.
before that. And like I guess like from there I was doing parallel, like playing around with hardware and playing around doing a lot of software stuff with like just various like there like shareware programs. Like there's this one thing called like Melody Composer, I think, that like I used to use. It was like a weird French piece of software that used like notation and you could like record waveforms and stuff, but it sounded really tinny. And then from there, actually the thing that the game changer was getting a USB to MIDI interface and sending notes into my DW8000 and getting those like sequences, and I was like, oh my god. And like I was sequencing that, and I was sequencing the drum machine, and I was getting all these crazy things. And then from there, and then from there I went into like an actual DAW, like I was using like Pro Tools and stuff like that. Wait, where's my phone?
Oh shit, we have the same headphones. Shout out.
There we go. Not my.
What was the process like for deciding which DAW you wanted? What was that process like? It's always a big decision It's always a big decision when you're a music producer and you got to figure out, well, which DAW is for me. Was there a reason you chose Pro Tools?
It was because I was interning at a studio and they were giving Pro Tools lessons basically.
Oh, so you were
might as well use that.
Okay, so you were tangentially you were getting into programming synthesizers and you were also interning at a studio. So this is like a lot of information coming into you at once. How old are you? Were you in college at this point, or?
I was around like right on the verge of college.
Right. Okay. So like just finishing high school.
Yeah. 1 second. I have to tell my mom that I'm doing a podcast.
Oh man, you should get your mom to jump in chat.
Oh, maybe later. I
Maybe.
mean, maybe later. Why not? But
Yeah.
yeah, like it was more just out of it was just there, and then from there, I actually used Pro Tool. I used an old version of Pro Tools LE on all of my releases up until Reconnect, actually. Up until Reconnect, I used an old version of Pro Tools LE, like Pro Tools 8 LE, like a very. I just got it because it was old and I could download it, you know, and I could get a cheap M box and stuff like that. And then from there, I started using. I got like a newer version of Pro Tools because I came into a little bit of money from like work and stuff like that. And then from there, in the past couple of years, I've been using Renoise, which has been my new favorite thing, my absolute new favorite DAW. It's been wonderful.
I've not heard of that DAW. Skelly, have you used Renoise?
Oh yeah, Renoise is
I've not heard of that.
Fantastic.
It's wonderful.
So Renoise is your favorite? Okay, cool.
Renoise is my favorite. I've tried Ableton. It gives me a literal headache. I don't like it. I don't like that it's loop based. I don't like. There are moments I like the Max integration, but I've gotten Max to integrate with Max MSP to integrate with Renoise pretty easily. Like I made generative breakcore using a game controller with like Max MSP
Sick
like
as
a couple
fuck.
weeks ago.
You're a very technical oriented person, so I imagine that something like Renoise and all this is going to be so much more your style. Ableton, I can totally see what you're saying about it. It's loop based. It's just kind of like it's not their most prettiest platform to use, and for someone like you who wants to dig into everything, I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I mean, it does hamper collaboration a lot because
everybody uses Ableton. For
yeah, with some exceptions. Like there's this one person I was like working with. I have been working with named Caro. She used to say she has her own solo stuff on PC Music, and she used to be
awesome.
she was like the head of Planet 1999. And like she uses Logic, which is very fascinating. I don't know anybody that uses Logic, but she has it down. Her production is beautiful.
So when you make music, where do you start usually when you want to make something? Just a typical song. Obviously, I imagine you probably start from multiple different sources. Maybe if you just discover a new technology that you like or a new synthesizing. Yeah. Like where do you start normally?
Honestly, you got it right on the nose. You answered the question. That's exactly it. Multiple sources. Like sometimes I'm like playing stuff on my keyboard, like not shown is a Roland SK88 Sound Canvas keyboard, like right down here.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
And like, there we go. There we go. Okay. Basically, yeah. Sometimes it's from that. Sometimes it's from like humming something while I'm like walking.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wrong way.
Yeah, wrong way.
So if you hum it while you're walking, do you try and
record it, or do you just try keeping your head until you can get to a piece of instrumentation?
Yeah, sometimes I hum it. Well, I hum it sometimes. Like sometimes I go on an e-bike at like 2 a.m. So if you're ever in Manhattan, you might see me just like riding down Chinatown on an e-bike at like 3 a.m. just like listening to tracks. And
did you grow up in Manhattan?
Yeah, I'm a New Yorker, born and raised.
Oh, that's sick. Love that.
I'm like,
I need to visit Manhattan real bad.
Approach music. I mean, being surrounded
by all the culture.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I got my start in the New York scene, like multiple iterations of the New York scene. Like I first came up in like the 2010s alongside Machine Girl, alongside Maxo, like shout out Machine Girl and Maxo, and like alongside even like Anamanaguchi, though they were already pretty established.
Yeah.
And like then I kind of took a break because I moved to Japan for a moment, and then
you moved to Japan for a moment.
How long were you in Japan for?
For 2 years.
How did that influence your sound?
I had access to Akihabara Book Off. That pretty much says it all. And like I was able to go to Comic-Con and Design Festa and like M3, and I was able to just collect a lot of things and listen to a lot of things that I wouldn't normally have access to. Heck, I even had access to Japanese Spotify, and I was just absorbing a lot of sound, but also visually I was looking at the architecture. I was looking at lots of graphic design. Honestly, like yeah, book off Akihabara and the architecture, and like also the musicians, like all the music playing, like all the like underground the Chica idols that were happening and
Did
around
you
that
just
time.
move to Japan, or were you there for college, or did you just be like, I'm gonna move to Japan?
I moved there for various like personal reasons.
Okay.
And like I was there on a student visa, like I saved up and stuff.
Nice.
And then I was there for 2 years. The visa ran out, money ran. It's a whole. It's a long story.
They know
And
more,
then
yeah.
I got back to New York just in time for COVID.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. Like the plan was like when I got back in like January 2020, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay in New York for like 6 months, and then get back by August 2020, and then a lot of things, and then COVID happened, like
yeah.
for real, and I just stayed in New York.
What does making music mean for you? What is it? What is it like a way for you to just fully express your internal feelings, your thoughts, your experiences, or is it all those things? You know, what do you get? Like, what kind of satisfaction do you get from it?
I mean, sometimes it's just very, like, for lack of a better term, it's very stimmy. You know, like sometimes sometimes I find like a chord that I really enjoy, or like a vibe that I really enjoy that's like particularly me, or something that feels new or interesting or exciting.
Particularly you. That's interesting.
Yeah, like I have like chord preference. Every musician has certain chord preferences, certain like textural preferences, and sometimes I find one that just like tickles that specific itch. But then sometimes a lot of the times I do express like emotions and like things that I've been like Perpetual's basically about the OCD I dealt like my OCD, you know.
Really?
Like I have very, very severe obsessive compulsive disorder, and for a good decade, like not to trauma dump on a podcast, but for a good decade I had really, really bad persistent anxiety that was solved by transitioning. And basically I lost a lot of time, and Perpetual was about that lost time.
Oh wow.
That feeling of having lost time.
That's incredible.
To this like mental illness.
That's incredibly personal.
It's a beautiful song.
Thank you so much. It's
one
of my favorites.
I had no idea that it had so much personal meaning in there. I mean, and it makes so much sense too when I go back and think about the song. Now that you mentioned all this, you really did convey that, because it felt like something like that was going on. You really conveyed it so beautifully. Interesting.
Yeah, I was really trying to get that feeling of like kind of hopelessness, that feeling of repetition. Also, I like to every so often make like do a little reference to like a Showa Heisei era like that. Like there's like a little reference to I Missed the Shock by Akira Nakamori in the middle of the lyrics, you know? And like, but for the most part, it's very just like, it's about that regret and like kind of trying to express that. And like, I guess lately in my music listening habits, I've been thinking a lot about that sort of like the aesthetic of yearning, the audio aesthetic of yearning, that the different chord juxtapositions that create that feeling of yearning.
Yeah.
Kind of want to
portray.
I've been thinking about that for like the next release. Still not like I'm also very ADHD. I'm very like all over the place. So
I understand that
sometimes feeling. Like I just think like, oh, I'm gonna do this, but then I do something completely different, and it's hard to not pin me down, but it's hard to just be like, it's hard for me to say like, I'll have this for you and it's going to be exactly this. Like sometimes I can do that. Like with these 2 releases, I'm actually pretty set on that. It's been pretty persistent, but in terms of like more general vibes, that's a bit harder, a bit more difficult.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about art and music. It is a way to sort of like, you can never really pin yourself down, but you can at least kind of communicate who you are through it. You know what I mean? And then you can connect to people, can hear it, they can experience who you or any or the artist is through it a lot of times, or as
Mhm.
close as possible, maybe. You know, because it's not just words. It's not just. It's so much that goes on in music. It's so much feeling. It's
Mhm.
so much to experience.
Do you ever feel like maybe some of the things that that you've had to deal with, like particularly traumatizing and I don't want to use the word affliction, but like troublesome aspects of of yourself that you've dealt with have been able to be used as a strength for your work? Like, do you ever feel like the obsessive compulsive disorder you've dealt with has, in a way, maybe like helped create a unique sound? You know what I mean? Like, has it ever like
It depends.
improved your
I
work?
mean, I don't think so. I mean, it depends on the affliction. Like, I'm also, let's be real. I have the triumvirate. I have the OCD, I have the autism, and I have
Yeah.
the ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
The ADHD and the autism, yes, I can say
Yeah.
definitely with complete confidence that has helped my work. That has been very beneficial to my work. It has helped me, like, I've learned to embrace those things very much so, especially now that I have the ADHD under control with medication, things like that. And with the autism, I feel like I've learned to unmask a bit more and be a bit more
Mhm.
comfortable with it. But with OCD, that is, no, I don't
No,
like it.
it stands in the
And
way.
it's not
Your
good.
work is
I
very,
can't understand.
very detailed. Very,
Thank
there's
you.
minutia in your work that I've. It's funny that you mentioned going to the clicks and cuts. That's not surprising to me at all.
Mhm.
There's
Well, thank
a profound detail in your work, and so I'm, I have different battles than you, right? But I wonder, like,
you. Mhm.
could some of these troubles be helpful in a way? And it's kind of cool to hear that, sort of,
Yeah, I think especially with ADHD, like a big part of ADHD is hyperfocus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I can get very easily distracted, as you could see with the phone, but I'm very, very hyper focused. And when I get obsessive about a single part, I can obsess over a single bar for like an hour. Maybe not, yeah, around an hour sometimes.
Wow.
I take a while. I have very, and like, I need to be really, really passionate about a song before I finish it. And it can make things very difficult. It's probably part of why I don't release as much as other artists. But I do think it allows me a degree of detail or attention to detail because I can get so obsessive with a single part because I want a particular sensibility with that part. And like, yeah, and then also just kind of being able to completely immerse myself, completely obsess over like a specific like part or a specific like aesthetic. Like, I'd say implementation and research and development were largely influenced a by an obsession with 90s J-pop, like specifically the work of Daisuke Asakura and Tetsuya Komuro. And like, and maybe a little bit of Cozy Kubo. And like, basically I was just really, really just going like pinpointing those individual sounds and getting really obsessed with how they, like, what they used, what they like this particular type of chord progressions and the particular type of things, like, um and like, I think that benefits my music greatly.
I can definitely see it. Didn't mean to step on your toes there and ask a question, but it
Oh,
just
you're
kind of occurred to me that maybe you would have some thoughts on that.
Do you have a particular synthesizer or program or anything that is like your go-to, that you know that this is a reliable sound texture to use, or a reliable synthesizer, or anything in particular that you're like, whenever you get stuck in a corner, like, I can go back to this and it will center me and it's going to help me like kind of come up with my next idea? Or does that always just change?
um I'd say sine waves. Like,
Nice.
honestly, FM synthesis. FM synthesis
FM
is kind of
synthesis.
my bedrock in general. Like,
That's
I'm obsessed with FM synthesis. I have a DX7. I have an SY77 over here,
Nice.
which is basically two DX7s plus a Rompler. I have a TG33. I have, like, I'm very obsessed with FM synthesis, and usually that's kind of serves as the basis one way or the other. Really, like I could be even more cynical about it and basically say that the thing that always helps me is taking a chord, taking 3 notes, putting it in the DAW, then copying and pasting it and lowering it by 7 semitones. It always gets that very like thick jazzy chord sound,
Yeah.
and it creates this ambiguity that I really like. I'm trying to like kind of wean myself off of it a little because it's such a crutch for me. But it always sounds good. It always just gives me
It works.
it always just gives me the
works.
feels.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if it sounds good and it strongly portrays an emotion, like
I
how can you go wrong?
well, I
Yeah, but then
understand that as
sometimes when
well.
oh sorry. But yeah, like
Oh.
sometimes like sometimes I'm just like, okay, you know what? I've been having this block. I'm just gonna use regular 3-note chords, maybe 4-note chord. Like I do like a 7th chord, you know? And because of the simplicity, the directness, I get song ideas very easily because of it. So maybe I just need to play around more with triads. Like I don't know, like I think this is a very obvious thing like to say, but I guess like I felt like in recent years that I felt kind of like anchored to this particular vibe because like it always feels sometimes I have this like little like neuroses in my head that everybody just wants the PS1 jungle from me, you know? Like like everybody just wants the PS1 jungle, like the pads and the
Oh.
amen break. And like that stuff's good, but I get tired of it. Like I can only do so much VGM. I can only do so much PS1 jungle, and the jungle is so much bigger of a genre than that. And I kind of just want to like, and like PS1 jungle can be inherently good, but I just got tired of it, and it's just like, wait, if I do different things, new things, then I'm excited again, and I do more things. And it's like the
Yeah.
most obvious like idea, but it
No,
works.
I know it's obvious, but it's like the sort of thing where like you do get stuck in like this is what people expect of me, this is what works for me, but like I'm getting bored of it. But when I try something different, oh wow, look at that!
Yeah,
I want to do
exactly.
it.
It's like
Yeah.
the most
Makes
obvious
perfect sense, but
solution.
you know what? We get stuck in our modes, and we get stuck in our expectations, and then we don't.
Yeah.
And we lose our joy, and that sucks. You know.
And like
Do you
that's
feel
what's
joyful with the
actually
new stuff you've been working on?
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I've been having so
Awesome.
much fun. It's been great. Like honestly, between like
Hell yeah.
trying new things, trying like switching completely to re-noise and trying new like instruments and textures, and also I've been playing around with layering like samples in re-noise to create instruments and getting these
Oh,
very
wow.
like Shin Megami Tensei-esque textures. Like I've been just like just very adamantly experimenting more and learning guitar and like even taking
How's
some
learning
singing
guitar
lessons.
going?
Hard
It's
as
been great.
fuck.
It's very difficult. Yeah, like I just know chords, but I got some good songs going. It's kind of a chorus machine. I kind of love that. Like I've
Yeah.
maybe because of the limitations of not knowing it that much, I get these really good choruses out of it. But also it's like like chorus and overdrive make the brain go burr, you know? Like it's very
Yeah,
like
real shit. Scratches a
like,
brain, yeah.
and not to sound like hyper millennial saying that, but you know, like it's very nice. It's very satisfying.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and I've been like excited to learn more chords. It feels like a lot more work to do the chord, whereas like with like keyboard based instruments, it's a lot more like direct and easy, and I can still make good. If I just sing over a keyboard melody, I can get some good stuff going. But just exploring, I've been kind of just falling in love with music all over again, if I'm being honest.
Oh, that's great. Love that for you.
Also, I've been DJing a lot more. Like
Sick.
the past 2 years, I've really
Fuck
learned
yeah.
how to DJ.
What do you use? Like as far as like programs and hardware?
I just like basically I practice on a DDJ FLX4, and
Nice.
I use like CDJs
Great
at
set
the
of decks.
menu.
Fuck yeah.
And,
What kind of
like,
stuff do you like to mix?
I like mixing J-Core a lot and Gabber.
Nice.
And like
Nice.
my favorite thing to do is taking like some breakcore tracks, slicing them up with hot cues, and then like on like while DJing, I just like press the hot cue buttons and basically live remix
Oh,
the break
hell
beat.
yeah.
And then I like do like a hard mix to another
Oh,
break
that's
beat
awesome.
at the same tempo. and I basically make this whole little breakbeat collage out
Nice.
of like some like 200 to 20 BPM songs.
I was about to ask, you like that 200 plus BPM shit, don't you? We're actually playing breakcore in the
Great.
background right now during this episode.
Oh, sick.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
that's badass.
Yeah, I've been just like, there's that. Like, I DJ techno. I had a moment where I was DJing garage a bit. Like, I came up with this blend where I blended Mune Aki by Sorani Poji, and I would blend that into Rewind by Craig David, and like vice versa.
What?
And it like works really well. It's a really
Whoa.
good blend. It's very fun. And like
Sounds
when
like
it goes back,
you know damn well what you're doing.
I bring in the rewind when the crowd says, "Well, select that," like that part. It's very fun.
Got to see that
I'm like,
live at some point.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I have fun DJing, but I do get like, it's once again, it's like another skill that's been helping me kind of make my brain more elastic. But like ultimately, I like production a lot more. Like I prefer production. Like I feel weird playing other people's songs, and like I try to make edits, but sometimes I just don't have enough time. Like I made one edit of like a Da Pump song that sounded pretty good. Like if you speed up Da Pump, it kind of sounds like a Ridge Racer song. If you speed up 90s Da Pump, it sounds very Ridge Racer. It's kind of great. And then you like add like a little breakbeat to it, and it basically sounds like something. It sounds like something out of Rave Racer. Like for some reason, there was like a lot of like textural synergy going on there.
Hell
Isn't
yeah.
that crazy when you can figure out two things that are just so disparate and you can pair them together.
Yeah,
and
it
make some
takes
kind
a
of-
very like highly trained ear and a honed brain for damn sure. I'm not that kind of DJ. I wish.
I mean, I'm still working on it. I'm far from perfect. Like I know, like I've DJ'd with people that
Same.
just like go so hard, so much harder than I could ever go. Like I'm just like I'm still learning, and that's kind of what's exciting about it. But it's also kind of scary. I'm always just like really sweaty on stage. Like there's
Same.
that one what's that one meme where it's like the guy doing the speed running, and you see like the sweating, and you hear like the keyboard sounds, and then like there's the other guy that's singing like Natasha Bedingfield or something, and it's
I've
like the
not seen that
difference
one.
between the two. Like I forget, it's like a specific meme. I always forget. Stable Ronaldo.
Oh, fuck.
Stable
Yeah, I know
Ronaldo.
that. That's such a
Yeah,
great meme,
like
too.
yeah, it's one of my favorites, but I always feel like the sweaty. And then like I joke around that my friend Alula, who has this DJ duo with her friend Ibo called Peta Hardcore Indo in Indonesia, and they do like these really fun, really tight sounding sets. And they're always just like jumping around happy, and I'm always just like,
Bruh. Yeah, same.
yeah. And it's
Get
just
out of
like
breath
it feels
so
like that
fucking
meme.
fast.
Do you
Yeah.
get inspiration for your music from any kind of visual things or films or TV or I don't know,
Oh, it's
just any
a
kind of
phenomenal
art or
question.
anything?
Ooh, I mean, this girl is
Oh,
a big
yeah.
inspiration.
Adorable.
She, like, I really like OS tons. I'm really obsessed with it. This one's the most relatable one to me. Windows Me Ton. She's very klutzy and very like kind of like anxious and stuff. But also like I guess at one point I was like obsessed with music videos, like
Oh, what music videos
music
were
video
watching?
history.
Oh, yeah. What were
Um,
you? What were you watching? What struck you? I'm interested.
I was really obsessed with Zbigniew Rybczynski and his work with early motion control cameras. Like he did
Neat example.
he did a video for Art of Noise. He did
Oh, which
music
Art of Noise
video.
music video?
Close to the Edit. He did
I love
Hell
that
in
music video.
Paradise
Yeah, with
by
where they're,
Yoko Ono.
they're
Yeah.
cutting apart all the yeah, they're cutting apart the instruments. There's the yeah, that's a cool
Mhm.
music video. I mean, I love Art of Noise in general. That music video is so cool. What else? Can you what else has they done? Because I love that music video. Do you know what else?
Hell
Do
in
you know anything
Paradise
about
by
it?
Yoko Ono.
Oh,
I mean, that was
okay,
like
all right.
one point, but also a lot of anime. Like I always joke that the intro to Pat Labor 2 is very much like a bedrock of my visual sensibility and my musical sensibility. Like very specifically the intro to Pat Labor 2, where it starts up with the OS and you see this girl just like testing out
I gotta
it
back
and
up.
see
Can
like
you tell me one more time the name of the director for that Art of Noise music video? Because I'm trying to write that down.
Zbigniew Rybczynski. Like I'll type
I
it.
wanna
I'll
look up
type
this
it. Like-
okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll type it in main chat.
I want to go. I want to go.
Zbigniew.
I want to go. Dig
Thank
into
you.
that guy's work. I want to dig into that guy's work.
There we
once,
go.
Once we're done now. Thank you.
No problem. But yeah, like there's that. There's like a lot of like Zerum by Keita Amamiya is like a very major favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Lots of like 90s OVAs, lots of architecture,
Oh,
lots of
architecture.
yeah, like I really
Ooh.
love Japanese architecture and like that kind of sort of almost like it's almost like a postmodern but with a lot of texture and a lot of like form. It's almost like then also graphic design. I love a lot of graphic design like April Greiman and Wolfgang Weingart and Designers Republic and Emigre. Um Lots of like I don't know, there's a lot of also video games obviously.
Yep, let's
What
hear
video
it.
games?
That's what I
Shiro's
want to
gonna
hear.
want to know about that.
Yep.
Xenosaga episode 1 is probably one of like the biggest personal inspirations.
Okay.
Something like Shin Megami Tensei Soul, like
You
specifically
did mention
Soul
Shin Megami
Hackers.
Tensei.
Yeah.
I was like,
I don't know, like a lot of different things. Like I could even name drop Namjoon Pike. Like there's like a ton of
Namjoon Pike. Yeah.
my visual inspo is all over the place and I don't know how I can sum it up, you know?
Oh no,
It
that's appreciate the examples though, because
like
I
I guess
wrote
I
down
was an
about half
art
of them.
student, so like I know a bunch of stuff. I don't know everything, but
that is
I know what I like.
intimidatingly evident.
No,
No,
I
you're
just
just like,
really,
that's a lot of names.
I tried.
Um,
I was typing out a few of them too. That ones I wanted to look up. I definitely want to get those music videos.
But honestly, Mamoru Oshii and who did like Ghost in the Shell and like Pat Labor and like the Red Spectacle and the Kerberos Cops saga, like Mamoru Oshii is a big one. One Kar Wai is a big one.
of course, One Car
I need
Keita
to check
Amamiya
out
is
some
a
of
big
his films.
one.
Yeah,
Zbigniew Rybczynski. I'm trying to think of like other like I had a moment where I was getting really into Tarkovsky.
Stalker. Yeah,
Yeah, Stalker and stuff like that. I don't know, like my God, I could go on for a while, but like also a lot of fashion. Like I really like I really like
Japanese fashion.
yeah, Japanese, but also like Walter van Beerendock. I really like 2000s Alexander McQueen.
I was about to say because Alexander McQueen is absolutely my favorite.
He's wonderful. Like I
Big
it's
influence. That's
hard
his
to-
work's a big influence on what I do, or when I make music.
I know,
yeah.
understandable. And then like even like designers like Peter Saville or Octavo, who are like the Factory Records as primary designers.
Oh yeah, I've got a Factory Records tattoo for sure.
Oh, sick.
No way. That's sick.
Also Designers Republic, obviously. I love Designers Republic. And like I always call them oh my God, Bureau Destruct. Bureau Destruct's one big one. Once again, Emigre is a huge one for me. I don't know, I feel like, and also municipal things. I love municipal things. I love forklifts. I love
Forklifts?
construction equipment. I love
This is great.
What do you
they're
love about
basically
this stuff?
IRL mechs. Like I love
Oh my God, they are IRL mechs.
They're
aren't
hella
they?
dangerous. I'll tell you that.
yeah. I had a moment this summer where I was obsessing over military helicopters and like fighter jets. Specifically, like
I
the
could see that
F-35.
because of like the detail in the schematics that I've seen that you've made. Like I could see that.
Oh, also Rick Sternbach, like all of like the Star Trek, like all of like the TNG era like graphic designers like Michael Okuda and Rick Sternbach and like John Eves, like all of those guys were really big for me. Also Journeyman Project is huge for me, specifically Journeyman Project 2 and Journeyman Project Pegasus Prime, which is this game made by its Californian studio in the early 90s. It's very like the future as envisioned by California bros in 1993.
Wait,
I always call it sort of like Frog.
What is this again? Hold on.
The Journeyman Project. It was an old point-and-click adventure game from the 90s.
Journeyman Project.
Basic, yeah. And it's
I
like
hope you
the
guys are
time
making
travel
lists
thing.
Crazy.
because there's gold in this episode. Holy shit.
Journeyman Project.
Skelly,
Oh,
do
and
you-
also vintage Macintoshes. Like I can name any Macintosh spec made between 1984 and 2006.
What? Really?
Like, I'm obsessed with old Macintoshes.
Skelly,
Which is your favorite one?
do you want to get another good question in
20th
before we go to the user? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
sorry.
After
you're
you
good, you're
finish
good.
that thought, let's get one more question in, but finish that thought first. before we do
wait.
The
the-
20th anniversary.
Okay, next question. I can wait. I can do another. Oh, wait. So, okay. Well, here's my question then: so you have the albums that you mentioned so far. Can I ask you about live performances and what you were doing for your setups?
Well, okay. To answer the first one, 20th anniversary Macintosh. That's my favorite ever Macintosh.
Thank you. All right, got it.
Yeah,
Second of
sorry.
all-
I'm so sorry to
Don't
cut
have
you
any
off.
stuff- yeah, the
Oh, it's
lives.
okay. Second of all, I don't really have a live situation. Like, I've tried.
It's
It never
impossible.
works.
No.
I've tried. Like, lately, I've been thinking a lot about, like, Hitori Tori's setup. This one, like, British breakcore guy. He has 2 instances of Renoise on his laptop with a
Cool.
custom controller. So I've been thinking of getting, like, some grid controllers, and, like, just I actually figured out how to, like, sync with virtual MIDI 2 instances of Renoise. So I was thinking of doing, like, live breakcore sometime. But
that's
like, honestly,
great.
like, honestly, my live setup is so just. That's why I turned to DJing.
But
like,
there's
for a
no
while-
wrong way to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah,
no
I
like,
Absolutely.
you know,
People want to hear your music loud and they want to see you. That's all they
they
care
want
about.
the presence of the artist and the presentation of it. It doesn't have to be complex. You know, it doesn't have to be because like
Yeah.
it's impossible with all you do with your production. That's too big of an ask to like put so much pressure on how to do it.
Yeah,
You know,
I feel like
Work
I
is done
call
in
myself
advance.
I call myself a post production girl. Like, I do like everything I do is very post. I'm not very good at like my weakness is live. That's kind of part of why I tried to
right.
learn DJing so I could get less nervous about live.
That's
stuff.
great.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
I
Yeah.
find live very, very anxiety inducing.
So many
I
like
don't-
eyes on you. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also just like you have to be good. I'm also very much of a perfectionist, and like I like everything
really? Sure.
being
Yeah, of course,
perfect
yeah.
at. I mean, who doesn't want everything to sound perfect?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like
but, you know, it's perfect because you're doing it.
It's perfect because you're making the effort to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
yeah, but a
I
bum
know, it's a
note or a
cop-out
weird.
answer, I know.
You're
I
going to
know.
be the
like,
biggest
eh.
critic. The people in the
Yeah, right.
audience aren't. I mean, but you know that already.
But once again,
Okay.
there's no wrong way to do it, and you know it's you know you know you'll figure if you want to, you'll figure it out if you
True.
want.
True. I mean, there's also like my Tenorion, which I've been
Oh, you
like
got it,
thinking
yeah.
of using for like
Tenorion.
live setups. Like
Wow.
I actually did like a live Tenorion set at one point where I just basically like had a bunch of programs that I made, but I also was like doing like randomized algorithmic like kind of sort of going between the different sequences because I got
Sean was
this
stopping when I said it.
I did this like I got this like homebrew firmware made by this guy
Okay.
Pika Blue, who basically opened up the possibilities of the Tenorion to like allow for like really you can like sequence notes like really
wow.
long, like you can do like automated switching between sequences, things like that, like very good quality of life things. And yeah, like I don't know, it's something I'll get back to you on it. I'm still learning how to figure out live.
We're
I'll
excited
get
to
back
watch
you
it
on
That's
evolve.
why I wanted to ask. I wasn't sure where you got. I was interested. Okay, cool. I would like to know where you got back to that on because I'm sure it'll be very
Yeah.
fascinating.
I would like to attend one of those live shows.
Oh,
at some point
I
very
would
soon.
definitely. I'll absolutely be there. It would sound so cool, but no pressure.
Well, let's go ahead and open the chat up to user submitted questions. We got another 53 minutes with DVI. Y'all blow up the chat with questions. I'm going to go ahead and kick that off with
I'm ready.
what is
I'm
a
ready.
common misconception about your work?
Ooh, good question.
Oh,
Ooh.
that it's just VGM, and I like VGM.
Yeah.
I love VGM. It's one of my favorite things. I love VGM so much, and I'm not gonna like, but I'd like to think that I think of that a lot more than VGM about my stuff in terms of
Absolutely.
things a lot more than VGM. And like it is weird to like post something that I have like a lot of context behind, and then I post it to YouTube and I get Super Mario Kart. Like
Yeah.
somebody just straight up commented Super Mario
Oh
Kart.
wow, really? After you
Yeah, or like this sounds like it's always like this sounds
That's
like
the worst.
the Sega Dreamcast, but without really going.
I think I literally said that
without
yesterday.
going
Here's the
deeper
problem
than
is
that.
Sorry.
that people
I'm so
don't have
sorry.
any
No,
great
it's-
background.
I owe
It's
you an
kind of
apology.
like like I'm not gonna like
You've heard it enough
say that it
times.
doesn't sound
Yeah,
like that. Of course, I'm not gonna call I'm gonna call a spade a spade. I
Yeah.
think I'm using that correctly, but
You are.
like, of course, it does have that vibe. But I would like maybe something more in depth than that, like in terms
Yeah,
of how it's perceived, and maybe that's
of
kind of
course.
the goal for my newer music, for my upcoming stuff. Like that's what I liked about Perpetual, actually, that people
Love that
kind
song.
of saw it for something more than just like something that sounded like VGM or something that sounded like Y2K. Like
I
it
guess
was
that's a
seen as more than that, and
yeah,
maybe I kind of enjoyed that. But
yeah.
I once again, I love VGM, I love the Dreamcast, I love
But you're so much
Y2K
more than that.
things, but I want to express more than that at
You
least.
want people.
Right.
It's I think that's one of the toughest things with being an artist is trying to express the depth of what you're doing to people. You know what I mean? Like you want, yes, that's fine to get the superficial a read from that, but it's like, but can you just like listen a little bit deeper? Like it's really hard to convey that. To actually
Yeah,
convey depth.
it's complicated. It takes a lot. It's one of those things where like your brain is just filled with all these different things, and only very specific things just come out of that. Like it's kind of like a
Mhm.
little filter, and then eventually you have all these thoughts and all these contexts and all these ideas, and then the final output is kind of out of your control to a degree. It turns into how it's interpreted, and sometimes it is a dialogue between the listener and the musician, and
Exactly what it is.
sometimes like it's one of those things where like, yeah, like I can't control how it's perceived, but
Hmm.
Right.
I could have some
But it would
desires
be,
for how it's perceived.
yeah, it would be nice to impart a little bit more into But yeah, I think that's a constant. I think it's a struggle that all artists have. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that goes back to the struggle of I'm trying to convey who I am to you through my
Hmm.
music or my art, right? And kind of comes back to that.
We have a profound amount of questions logged
Oh,
and ready to
Let's
go.
really?
go.
We like feel like
Profound?
Well, all
7
right, let's do
questions
this.
locked and loaded. These are great too.
Profound.
Rose Court
Let's
with the
go.
first one. Upcoming. Are there any upcoming vapor adjacent artists? I guess up and coming artists that you've been fucking with lately.
Yeah,
I
just
don't listen to vaporwave, really, to be
just any
honest.
new artist. How about that? Like
Yeah,
any
any
new
new
artist.
artists.
It doesn't have to be that.
Oh, I've been listening to this band Swanskin. They came out
Swanskin.
with something on Zoom Lens kind of recently.
Oh, I love
Okay, yeah, shout out Zoom
like,
Lens.
Maishy
I love
Smile. Good
Maishy
friend of
Smile
good
and
friend of mine.
Yeah,
LLLL.
Absolutely. Love
she's the
Maishy.
best.
Yeah.
Meshi's the best. Known them for
Maishy's so damn skilled.
I've known
I'm
them for
so
10
lucky
plus
I
years
got to
now.
see them
Yeah.
live in 2015 in Austin.
I
Right after
saw them.
Belong
Oh,
came out.
Mhm.
They did that tour? Oh, well, damn.
Yep, I
I
got
guess
real lucky. It was an SPF 420 showcase, but anyways, great
Oh, no, I
taste.
mean,
I guess
saw,
I guess I've been listening to that. I've been listening to Lil Kivo 303. I've been listening to let's see, Days Guide. I've been listening to, like, in terms of 2024 has been weird because like there's been some good stuff, but it's been like lots of singles, and like there's some
Yep.
like I'm trying to
a
think
lot
like
of singles are always coming out now.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of the way the
we all
music
do that now. It is
industry's
what it is.
going.
But it was, it's tough. It's also hard to come out with a full album though. Sometimes
You got to keep
too,
people's names,
true.
keep
Yeah,
your
like
name in
that.
people's mouths.
I guess like there was like some new, like there was like an 8485 single I really liked. Like the newer Death Dynamic Shroud stuff I really enjoyed.
Very cool.
Oh, shout out
Like the
Death
stuff with
Dynamic.
Galen Tipton. That was
Oh
really
yeah,
good.
Galen
great.
Tipton is so
That's
skilled.
fantastic.
A lot more of like textural stuff.
I kind of I'm not gonna lie. Like also like the new one. Like I think underscores might be 2023. That was really good. I feel like I'm forgetting a lot. There's
It'll
like
come to you later.
there was like Sure She Dream that I was really into. Let's see. Oh, that's a bunch of stuff. A bunch of good stuff.
Well, you've listed a lot for us to work with.
Okay, cool. Also, the new also Tapeworms. Like I've been listening to Tapeworms always. Like they're label mates. Like same with Vitesse X and
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
like all of my label mates have been putting out some really good stuff.
Some good stuff
It's
on
been
music
it's been
website.
really fun. Yeah.
Great question from Sky Yamaha. If you're okay with us moving on,
Of course.
she says, "I don't know if we've discussed how you create visuals. I'd love to know more about how you started in your artwork and what programs you
Mhm.
use.
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't even get into that.
Yeah, thanks,
I
guy.
mean, let's see. I guess in terms of like visuals, I started out drawing and then I kind of just like got obsessive with drawing and just kept on doing it. And then with graphics, I guess I started out with After Effects and I still use After Effects. I love how they still keep the 90s filters. I love the bevels. I love the difference
Mhm.
noise. I love the turbulent noise. I love the lens
I
flare.
would notice, yeah.
Like the lens flare is just right out in
The
1995
lens
and I use
flare.
it as the
Oh
basis
my
for so
god, they
much good
still have.
stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Too cool.
I just had a bunch of
And
flashbacks
also,
now when you said all this.
and like using lots of like just fonts that I download, just like lots of like font packs that I download via means, various means. And also like let's see, lately I started out using for 3D. I started out using like Wings 3D, which is this weird open source 3D modeler. But in the past couple of years, I've been using Blender, which honestly is amazing. I love Blender so much. And
Hell
like I
yeah.
use Illustrator. I basically use the standards. I use Illustrator, Blender, After Effects, Photoshop. At one point I was programming my own video filters using processing, which was
Whoa.
really, really fun. And I would do this thing, especially with the earlier, with like IceQuire videos, like stuff I would make with IceQuire. I would do this thing where I took like a security camera, that like a portable one, and it was connected to a wire. So I would use centripetal force and just be like, running around like that. And I would put it into a processing filter and I would get some crazy,
Nice.
like sort of cool, like buffer effects and things like that. And like at one point I
Hell
was using
yeah.
jitter too. But for the most part at this point, I use a lot of After Effects, like a lot of Blender and After Effects and Illustrator.
Hardcore.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you for that. Lux got a great question. How did it feel seeing yourself on a billboard? Congratulations on that, by the way. That was hella
thank
cool.
you.
she says.
Amazing. So cool. So cool.
I was just happy that the colors came through because CMYK is so annoying. I hate CMYK. I know you told us to. Actually, I think this is punching up. CMYK sucks.
It's punching up.
RGB is the
It's punching
best.
up. You're fine. You're good.
Damn,
I think
you
I'm
heard it
punching
on
up
Hot
here.
Takes.
Definitely punching up.
CMYK is the worst. And if anybody thinks otherwise, you can fight me. Something
Damn.
or something like that. Maybe an
Something
Armored
like
Core
that.
6.
No,
Fight
people
me
in
in
the
Armored
group
Core
seem to
6.
agree.
Yeah, CMYK sucks.
Yikes.
But like, yeah, it was like at first it was like this. Like I had three thoughts. I was like, first thought was, oh my god, it came through. The colors were okay. Second thought was, oh my god, I'm on a billboard. And the third thought was, this would have been a perfect album cover design for like a remix EP or something. Like get like a really sharp image of like the billboard. That would have felt very like would have been very like luxurious in this like 2003 kind of way. It would have been a very good like trance remix cover, like kind of the same vibe as like Richard X Presents his X Factor, like that cover, but with a billboard. Or like, oh no, the Depeche Mode greatest hits like releases, like those like early greatest hits compilations with like the LEDs. Would have been that vibe, like with the right editing. Would have been so good. But
that's such an
so yeah, those are my
I hadn't thought
thoughts.
about that in
Like,
years.
thank God it came
Love
through.
it.
Wow, I'm on a billboard, and I
And
should have done
CMYK
this specifically
sucks.
for an. Oh, and CMYK sucks. So
Thank you. I was about to add that.
Yeah,
CMYK sucks. I love that.
It's the worst.
Little Cyber Angel, great question. Are there any places you haven't been to that you are excited to perform or DJ at in the future?
Let's see. I want to do a show in the UK for like finally. I've visited once or twice,
Nice.
and like I've always wanted to perform there. I really want to perform in Hong Kong. I want to do Mogra in Tokyo. I performed in Tokyo like a couple of times, but I really want to perform Mogra like the most. Like I want to do one of like the Vintage Anna song sets or something. I'd love to like perform in LA maybe.
LA's cool.
I don't know, like I feel I have there are places that I definitely want to go to. I've been doing a lot of like East Coast traveling for shows this year, which has been very fascinating, very like I- trains are interesting, which is, I know
True.
it's the most like stereotypically autistic thing to say, but I kind of like the trains. I like taking the train to all these places. It's been fun. But for the most part, I've been really like I really want to go back to Japan and DJ there. I want to go back. I want to like visit Hong Kong or Seoul, or like actually I want to DJ in Jakarta. That would be so
Ooh,
fun. I wanna
okay,
DJ with
Indonesia, all right.
I want to DJ with like the aforementioned Pete Hardcore Indo, or like just like it'd be fun. Like maybe do like a funk hot set or something. But that would be very stereotypical of me. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do my usual set, but in Jakarta. Like I don't know. Leave the fun cop to the masters, you know.
Sky's the limit. Sure, it'll happen someday. Dreamcastle, great question. What equipment did you use on Aurora Memoria? Which I really like, by the way, so I'm excited
Yeah,
about
it's
this.
really.
Well, I actually used some of the D50 and the SY77, but then I was also using a lot of VSTs, which I'm not going to say because, like, I have answered this question a couple of times, but I think people should learn how to make these sounds themselves.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think you should.
Like, not in the sense of not in the sense of like I walked 4 feet in the snow when I was your age, but in the sense of learning these things yourself and like figuring it out yourself with what you have and like doing your own research and things like that.
Totally agree with this, yeah.
Really helps you create your own context, your own personal context for things,
Yes.
and makes things interesting. Like one of my big pet peeves, especially with like, I don't know, certain things, like certain like aesthetic boards and things like that, certain like even like YouTube videos about how to make this, how to make
my
that.
God, I just had
Yeah.
the same conversation.
Yeah,
about
it is
it.
like-
What did I tell you yesterday? Told you.
Figure it out, and then you figure out
Yeah.
yourself too in the process, which is like you said, because you're all
Yeah.
using context to your music. I had the same.
I believe in
philosophy
personal
with Shiro.
context, like, and I
For
think
sure.
that's why.
That was
like,
my hot
this
take.
is
She
something I
believes in
can-
the
I can-
special salsa.
That was my hot take
Yeah.
last time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like that's actually something I find interesting about vaporwave, actually, because like basically it was the last genre to come before like the aesthetics came in. You know, the like aesthetic boards, the aesthetic wikis.
Yeah.
Where
Right,
it
that
was just
replaced
like
everything.
it was a very
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very Tumblr generated genre, and as a result, everything was very acontextual,
Yeah.
and people formed their own context. And I think that's how aesthetics form. That's how new things form. People like contribute their own context to these older things.
Yeah.
And with a lot of like with a lot of things that are just aesthetic boards where there's a style guide and like
oh my God,
it
that's
very-
what
it's all
replaced
very,
Very
everything.
pink by
canonized.
numbers.
Yeah,
that's
it doesn't
that's what
allow
replaced
for
everything.
development sometimes. Sometimes it can, but it discourages it in comparison
Discourages it.
to simply just like self-exploration, like crate digging and self-exploration, you know?
That is a profound observation.
Yes, it
about
is.
What replace things, because that's a profound observation. That's true. Is this kind of aesthetic mood board sort of culture replaced? Oh man, yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a
Well, I mean-
meaty fucking episode.
Yay. I tried.
Got a great question from Neon
What's the next
Pines
question?
Mall.
I need a drink. Rebecca.
Uh-huh.
Neon Pines Mall says, "Who is your favorite film director and why?"
I think Keita Amemiya.
Very cool.
It's a toss up between Keita Amemiya. Once again, Tarkovsky is a favorite.
Got such a
I
shame.
don't-
Skelly stepped away. He's a cinephile.
No, I'm here.
Oh.
I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just
he
getting
can
a
hear.
drink. I hear
I
everything.
really like the French cinema du look era of film from like the 80s, where basically so much neon, so much like kind of like chasing after people in a subway, like things like that.
Nice.
I guess like I don't know, film directors are hard because like I had my moment, my art school girl moment of like doing the French New Wave, doing the experimental stuff,
Mhm.
and like for me it's less about favorite directors and more about favorite films. Like
fair.
I could talk about like Wim Wenders, but only through the lens of Until the World Ends, or yeah,
Wings
like
of Desire or
along
something.
those
yeah.
lines, or even Wings of Desire, or alternately like I don't really like most Stanley Kubrick, but I love 2001: A Space Odyssey.
That's
Same.
great. That's my favorite.
Well, it seems
Yeah.
like
I
he's a great example of like all his movies are super different, but they all have the special sauce. You could tell it's
They're all
him.
him. I mean,
You know.
they all feel like they're made by the same person. That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, but,
Um,
but also wait, one more. Actually,
go
sorry.
go for it. Go.
Once again, Mamoto Oshii's live action movies are actually very underrated. Nobody talks about them very much,
Live action
and I think more
movies?
people should. Like, he made
What's
this
his
one
live
movie
action
talking.
movies? I didn't
He
know
made the
about
Red
that.
Spectacles, Talking Heads. I mean, not Talking Heads, Talking Head. Very distinct. It's about like sort of a freelance roving animation director, and it's like this meta commentary on like the production of an anime, and like, but it's done in this very surreal way with a very distinct cinematography. And then there's like the Kerbero Saga, which Red Spectacles is part of, and like his live action stuff just has a similar sense of humor that say like his work for like Urusei Yatsura has, but there's just this kind of pensive but funny quality to his work that I find really fascinating. The way like his sensibility translates into live action is just so exciting and so fascinating, and I wish more people got to see it.
Sounds like I need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks for the
It's like
recommendations.
on the level of Ghost in the Shell, if not better. And Ghost in the Shell is one of my favorite movies, so I think that's
Hell yeah.
a lot.
I enjoyed it quite a bit as well. Neon Pines Mall says he appreciates your thoughtful answer. Lux with a long-standing, long-running question, courtesy of Strip Silence. Can you please rank these three things in terms of importance? The three things I need you to rank: track titles, album art, and album title. That's track titles, album art, and album title. Need you to rank
Yeah, I'm
those.
really interested to hear the answer.
Track titles, album art, or album title? It feels so interconnected.
True.
No, that's what do you think?
I mean, is it about like sometimes the album art that I'm thinking of influences the track titles, and sometimes the track titles influence the album art, and sometimes the album title influences the track titles, and it's so all over the place. It's too interconnected for me to extricate and rank. Like I think of them on the same
Fair
level.
enough.
Though I do
Fair
like
enough.
when it comes to track titles, I really like thinking of sort of vague technological sensibilities. I like thinking of concepts in I guess like Dream Navigator was basically, there was this one Japanese philosopher from the early 90s that was essentially trying to predict like the future of new media. I forgot the name, but like and yeah, I am very much a weeb, obviously. Like, if it hasn't been clear enough, I'm very much a weeb.
Gundam in the background.
Let's see. I have to find the philosopher again. I completely forgot. This was like years ago. I forgot. But I don't know, like, I guess, like, but also, like, early artificial intelligence terms, like, technological terms. I like how synthesizer companies make up these terminologies, like linear arithmetic synthesis and things like that. But then, at the same time, Reconnect, like, a lot of the songs were about solar power and solar power terminology. But then something like Net Wild is obviously a reference to Get Wild 89 by TM Network, but with net in it because they thought it was cute. But then, like, I don't know, it's all too interconnected.
I feel that.
For me to rank that.
That's a fair answer.
I feel like you use a lot of very evocative words in your track titles and album titles. Like, it kind of reminds me of how, like Final Fantasy will have the Fabula Nova Crystallis. And
yeah,
it's like,
I mean, like, I love that kind of.
What does that fucking mean? But it's just, it's so evocative.
It's very romantic.
Yeah.
There's something romantic and ambiguous about it that I think is really wonderful. And like, but also there's something very like poetic about it. There's something very like elaborate.
Absolutely.
There's this implication of something deeper. that I really appreciate, and I like how technological language uses that. That kind of that kind of implication of something deeper, but at the same time something friendly, and at the
Oh,
same time something elegant, friendly, and and deep, but also futuristic. Something I like that. It kind of sort of evokes a similar feeling to the chords that I like, where I do the seven semitones. There's that kind of ambiguous
familiarity.
optimism,
You don't know. Yeah, it's like a familiarity that you're not familiar with, but it's
Yeah,
your
there's
future.
ambiguous optimism and romance, which I guess that
Ambiguous
sounds like a
optimism
DBI.
and romance. Hey, question: Does that have the theme? Does that theme kind of run through your music?
I guess so, to an
Ambiguous
extent. I mean, that
optimism.
basically sounds like a DBI song title.
Right.
That's why you said it. And that's why I brought it up. And I'm
it would be emotion, optimism plus romance, or
well, that's
something with some brackets.
Yeah.
Or
that's
something.
why I mentioned it. I'm like, huh, that's an interesting collage of words that were just said right there. Because I feel like that's
Yeah.
really coming up. Not all of it, but a lot of music I've heard.
That's actually something me and Rob. This is kind of a game that me and Robin actually do, where we like to make these sort of composite sort of statements that evoke that similar quality, and you see it a lot in a lot of technological things, even the D50 has linear arithmetic synthesis or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, we both like to make these terminology, this particular sort of. It's almost there's something very frilly about it, but in a very techie way,
I like
really
that.
I like that.
Neon
but it
Pines
only
Mall
ma-
says
Oh, sorry.
forklifts equal real life plus mix.
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a great observation.
It's perfect. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm
That's
sorry.
true. I agree.
Question. What's the next question?
Osaka Nun had a great question, but I didn't really understand it. It was about
Oh, hi, Osaka.
yeah. They've had some great questions in chat, but let's see what.
I'd love to answer some questions.
If you want to pose that one of the questions that you asked earlier once more, Osaka Nun, I think I may have just missed the context of your question, so I'll skip over it. But if you have a question, post it again so I can come back to it. Until then, Archangel wants to know. You may have already answered this. What are your go-to synths?
I think we did that.
Did we cover that already?
We were talking about Renoise. We talked about. I mean, if you want to go through it again, go.
The hardware.
Let me think.
Maybe there's something.
Let me think about this. I mean, go-to hardware synthesizers,
I think that's
hardware,
what
all
that was meant.
or software synthesizers.
Well, you said FM synthesis was your main your thing.
Yeah, FM synthesis is my main go-to. I also like sound modules, like the sound canvas. I have two different sound canvases. I have an SC88 and an SK88 Pro, which is the keyboard version, which Ray Harakami used a lot. I use those two a lot, very prominently. I also have a SY77 and a D50 and a Tenorion, and that's kind of my main hardware setup. I have a couple of other synthesizers that are scattered around that I use, but for the most part, when it comes to hardware, it's those 4 or 5 synthesizers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
SK88 Pros for a long time too. You use them a lot. That's sweet. It always seems so cool.
They're great. Oh yeah, also I have a QI70, which was the freeze pop instrument, the freeze pop sequencer.
That's what about this thing.
I use that every so often. It makes some good sounds. Also the presets are beautiful.
Hell yeah! Thank you. Osaka Nun said.
I gotta get SK88 Pro.
Osaka Nun said, all genres of media confront questions to exist and grow. What do you think the question is at the heart of your work?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. That's a question. No,
thought I was a good interviewer. Holy shit!
Wow. Wait, could you repeat that question?
Shall I read it back? All genres of media. All genres of media confront questions to exist and grow. What do you think the question is at the heart of your work?
I think the question is, it depends on the era, I think. Because, I'd say, at the beginning, my work was very personally escapist. I wanted to, evoke a future that still felt like it existed, but only through PR, only through products. And I wanted that to be like genuine as opposed to consumerist. But at the same time, I did also develop lore for DVI.
Mhm.
DVI is technically a in the lore that I came up with, it's essentially a defense contractor with the vibe of Sony from 2004, you know? Like that's the point of research and development and implementation. Um like I'd say my music I think from a sensory point of view, my earlier music was an attempt to evoke a certain ecstatic quality that
I could
was
see
felt
that.
like that beyond like nostalgia, beyond lore. I was trying really hard to immerse myself in that ecstatic quality that helped me escape from my OCD, that helped me
Yeah.
feel like very stimulated and happy and distracted. But at the same time, it was that a kind of pure happiness, a pure ecstatic quality. And then if I were to go for the emotions of the newer stuff, I'd say it's romance and regret and a degree of not melancholy, but I guess it's to a degree figuring out who I am as a human being, you know? It's me trying to understand myself as a woman, as a trans woman actually. Like not necessarily in the sense of like singing about being trans, but in the sense of like the sort of unarticulatable kind of nuances of what I
Something you
want to
can't really
evoke
put into
in my
words.
yeah, like I think everybody has a certain thing about them that's not that one can't articulate through words. And I guess to an extent I'm trying to find that for myself as this new person. This new type. No, sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
Well,
But like as a new girl, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to explore that through my music. I'm trying to express that kind of unarticulatable quality, which is actually one of the most powerful things about music. Like chords can convey things that you can't quite articulate through speech, through
Yeah.
words,
absolutely.
through
And it
visuals
transcends
even.
languages.
Yeah. And I guess I'm exploring that with my current music. And I've explored that with my past music, but it was just as much as just a distraction from something that was really painful to me.
So Osaka Nun has a really great follow-up question before we move on. Would you say your work began as a kind of escapism and has now become a sort of freedom?
Oh, that's really interesting.
God,
That's a great way of
Saka
putting it.
coming through. Wow. Oh
This
my
one's
God.
a super fan.
She's amazing.
She
But
is, clearly.
let's see. Wait, could you repeat the question?
Would you say your work began as a kind of escapism and has now become a sort of freedom?
Well, in a way, it's on a compositional level, it was escapism. On a textural and contextual level, it was very much a rediscovery. Like I was very much there, a rediscovery of things that that were special interests. In a way, you can chart my unmasking as an autistic girl through my music, you know? In a way, you can chart like my rediscovery of things that I always found passionate towards, but was too shy to really express that or even rediscover it or through my music. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess like I think music will always be will always be a little escapist to me for a degree. To a degree, like I remember when Trump was elected, the first thing, like the day after, like the what I did was I worked on an ambient song because my brain couldn't do anything else, and it soothed me. It helped me, Like, I think all art forms are to a degree escapist, even when
Hmm.
you're trying to communicate something important, even when you're trying to face something head on.
Oh
The
wow.
inherent act of creating is very much like a healing act, and to a degree
Absolutely.
escapist. And I don't think
Absolutely.
escapism is inherently bad unless like you kind of don't, unless you just sort of perseverate on comfort. But sometimes everybody needs a little bit of escapism. Sometimes everybody needs a break from reality. Not a complete break from reality, not a endless break from reality, but a temporary one, yeah. Like, we all deserve a break,
Mm-hmm. Short Stuff, great question as well. Wants to take it in a different direction and ask, what was
Yeah.
your experience with releasing the first mini disc physical on music website's label?
I was really fun. Once again, CMYK. CMYK.
No,
Oh
CMYK
no, was the
suck.
label all messed up?
No, the label was fine. The disc itself looks gorgeous, like absolutely
Good.
gorgeous. But like the cover was too dark. Like the
Ooh.
cover that like when I transposed it to CMYK, I was like, okay, these look good. The colors look good. And then I saw it printed, and like the entire top like framework is just black. And
Wow.
so annoyed about that. Freaking CMYK. But then like I want to try to do a second pressing specifically because I want to correct the colors on the cover so I could have
Well,
like
Yeah.
so I
give
could
people
say
another
that
Do
chance
it.
to get it. That's a good thing.
yeah, specifically so I could say that I trounced CMYK.
Yeah. So
But
yeah,
also like so to have like a physical item that I'm 100% proud of. Like
I see.
already I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I
proud of it
understand.
because I've been wanting to put out a mini disc since like 2013. That was the original plan
Hell
for Aurora
yeah.
Memoria, actually, a
Wow.
NetMD. Like I wanted to put the game on a mini disc. But obviously it was too big, it wasn't feasible. There wasn't really the infrastructure there because like to make mini discs, like unless I wanted to like go to Nakano Broadway, like travel to Japan, go to Nakano Broadway, get a mini disc duplicator or something, or hard off or something. But obviously I was in New York. I couldn't do that. I'm still in New York. But so I ended up doing SD cards, which was really, really
Hell
fun
yeah.
because I could screen print on them.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I'm really happy with those mini discs. I actually am really proud of that. And like I want to eventually release on every single storage medium possible. I want a DVI EP on a zip disk. I want a DVI
Zip
EP on
discs.
an
Hell yeah.
orb disk. I
hell
want
yeah.
it on a jazz disc. I want magneto
A jazz
optical
disc.
storage with DVI like songs on it. I want a
Magnetic
memory
optical
stick. I
storage.
want
I love that.
yeah, I want like
Well, you're
I
in
want the very
the
very
fact
big
that you're
disc.
like
Blu-ray.
vapor adjacent is good then because they've been releasing shit on like Game Boy Advance cartridges and shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wanna-
Equip and R23X did the wax cylinder.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god! I mean, wait until you see. I'm very excited to reveal the ambient, like how the ambient EP is going to be released. But I'm not. It has to be a surprise. I'm
Fair,
very
fair,
excited
yeah.
about it,
absolutely.
but it's very much a surprise.
You
It's
did
gonna
not
be,
hear it
It's
on
going to be
Hot
an
Takes.
interesting one. Yeah, nobody's gonna know until I actually put it out.
Oh, it's
Like
exciting.
I have some friends that know, but this is
But
something I'm keeping mum.
There you go. The next question we have for you is from Quiz. If you could score a
Quiz?
console game based on an existing mech anime franchise, which would you want to do?
That's a toughie. Because like the thing is that all my favorite my favorite mech franchises already have the best musicians. Like Pat Labor has Kenji Kawai. Macross has Yoko Kano. Like maybe my dream would be to make an idol within the Macross like timeline. I think that would kind of best sum it up. Like I wouldn't want to make a soundtrack. I
Yeah.
would want to make songs for an idol in the Macross timeline. Like how they have like Ronko Lee, how they have Min Mei, how they have Sharon Apple. Like I'd want to make songs for the next idol in the next Macross anime. That would be my desire.
specifically in that
Damn.
context, though. I like that.
Thank you.
Too cool. Daffodil with a great question as well.
Oh,
All great
Daffodil,
questions.
hi.
Oh yeah. Daffodil's in chat. Shout out Daffodil. What is your
Yay.
favorite track from your discography? And what track was the one you had the most fun making?
That's a good question.
Very good question. Okay. My favorite track from my discography. Let's see. I would narrow it down to Optical Mode, SoftBank.
I love SoftBank so much.
SoftBank's one of my favorites.
SoftBank is so adventurous.
Okay.
Optical Mode's really good too.
I got
also
it.
really like Optical Mode. Go.
Let's see. Perpetual was actually a very seamless process. Like, it just kind of happened over the course of a week. Most of my tracks take months. That one just took a week.
Wow. Lightning in a bottle.
Okay, I know what my favorite one is. It's Media Prototype. That one's, if we're talking vocal tracks, Media Prototype's my favorite. I personally feel that I made a perfect pop song with that. And my goal with my music on like a very like surface level is to make perfect pop. And I think I succeeded with that one. I was very happy with that one on all levels.
Good.
And so I think that one, if we're talking vocal based tracks, it's Media Prototype. If we're talking about tracks overall in terms of success, I'd say it's something off of Implementation. My personal favorite EP of mine, my personal favorite release of mine is Implementation. Like,
Very
Reconnect
cool.
is great. I love Reconnect. I'm very proud of it. But if we're going perennial fave in terms of, even despite the fact that I got really burnt out making it, it just came together personally on Implementation. Though I don't think it was as well received as like other things I've done. For some reason, Aurora Memoria has been getting a lot of like for some reason on Spotify, everybody's playing this one song, Angelic Seaside.
That song is great.
Which makes me insane, actually, because
I'm sorry, I love that song.
Oh no, it's okay. It's a pastiche of a Joe Hisaishi song from that was it was a deliberate
explains why it
pastiche
felt
as
so
like
nostalgic.
a joke. It's a joke song for a movie in my
Wow.
visual novel, and for some reason it got really like it flew off. It took off, and it makes me very angry.
I literally used that song in one of the ad promos. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. It happens. Though if we're talking favorite, I could do favorite tracks on each EP. Favorite track on Aurora Memoria is Ayukawa Reformat. That one I'm really happy with. Research and development is either Dream Navigator or Human Index. Implementation, Media Prototype, or the intro track, which is I think Telecompo is like, oh my god, it's like Telecompo and Human System Division. And then Reconnect, it's Net Wild. Net Wild's my absolute favorite track on Reconnect, followed by Acceleration Fission. I'm very proud of that one.
Sick as fuck. The next question.
Telecompo Health and Human System. There we go. Division. Sorry. Okay.
No. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Great question by Dreaming Diary. Thank you, Dreaming Diary, for this one. If I don't know if this has been asked, but what is it about FM synths Y2K aesthetics that are so appealing to you? I love it and can't articulate why.
Well, okay. Two things. With FM synthesis, the possibilities feel so much more endless and so much more unpredictable than just traditional subtractive synthesis. Like, I love just kind of playing around with a different ratio of sine waves, smushing them together, modulating them, and getting these insane soundscapes. But then doing something like a zero, like a fixed ratio oscillator, and feeding that in, getting these weird bit crush sounds.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities to FM synthesis, and that still feel unexplored in a way that, like with like modular. This might be another hot take. I think modular synthesis is like modular analog synthesis is kind of boring. I think analog synthesis
Agree
in general
completely.
is kind of boring. Like I
Damn.
think
Particularly the modular stuff. Completely agree.
yeah, like
And
I like
subtractive synthesis is fun to play with, but you made
Yeah.
a very strong point about FM synthesis. So much that you can dig into, and
there's so much possibility, and I like analog. I use a lot of warm like analog
I
pads
still love my
for
analog
my
synths.
songs.
They're beautiful, but I know how they work. Do you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can figure them out. It doesn't take that long. I mean, there's always new things to do, but FM synthesis, I'll never be able to completely figure that out.
I've been using FM synthesis for my whole career, and I'm still learning new things. I'm still coming up with new, interesting ways to use it. Like, there's so many there's just so many textural possibilities. There's so many different ways to just kind of subtly design a sound to make it sound like another thing. Like, there's that whole like superposition theory, I think, where essentially any song can be reduced into a bunch of sine waves. I think that's so exciting. I think that's so like insane, but also true that you could basically take my voice or take your voice and just kind of like basically put it into a sonic what is that, a super, like, what are those things that like take that like reduce things to like its constituent parts? Like it's like a super,
hold on,
it's like a thing, it's a super, it rotates
centrifuge.
really quickly. Centrifuge. It's basically FM synthesis is basically an ultra centrifuge of sound, you know? Additive synthesis is an ultra centrifuge of sound where you're basically just dividing my voice or your voice into a bunch of sine waves. And it works. And that's insane to me. That's like one of the most exciting ideas. And that's from like the 70s, or that idea's from like the 20th century. But it still just feels so vital and so interesting.
It's fascinating.
And
I never thought about that. That's really
whereas
cool.
with them analog synthesizers, you get beeps and boops. And it's just like,
the electricity sound like that. Yeah, that's about it though. Which is great.
And it
it's
can be
great.
fun.
Well, you know, it's good for people to learn on that initially because you can
Yeah.
kind of grasp it, but you're 100% accurate about
But
that.
also like, I mean, analog synthesis can be really fun and like has really good like I'll always like,
love it.
I mean, you know, you like with my work, I always manage to put in a little 303 line or like a nice like filter sweep or like some nice like warm like saw pads or pulse pads. Like,
Yeah.
analog has it can be a necessary like sonic bedrock, and like I use it
sure.
as such, and I love analog synthesis, but FM synthesis for me is so much more exciting and so much more like I've tried like granular synthesis too, and that's exciting too, but it feels like a bit of a one-trick pony in comparison to like other forms of synthesis like
That's
FM or even
interesting.
like, and like essentially granular synthesis is kind of an extension of wavetable synthesis, you know? But it's like a lot more like it's granular. Like goes between all the things. And to be fair, maybe I haven't explored enough in granular synthesis. Maybe I do deserve to explore further with granular synthesis, but and maybe I'm like I'm still researching that, I guess. But it's still this feeling of like, oh, this is kind of what I can do. I guess it's like a sampler where it's like it really comes down to what you put into it. Whereas FM synthesizers, you can make these insane soundscapes from just sine waves, which is wild.
That's absolutely wild. Yeah, that's.
I'll take it.
I'm gonna go play with FM synthesis as soon as I get back to Philadelphia again.
I'm so excited about playing with FM because that's a really good point, and I hadn't thought about it in a while.
While, but you're right. That's
Yeah.
and wave on silent. That's pretty cool. That's pretty freaking cool. Oh, what's the next question?
You know, we
Yeah,
are caught up,
awesome.
so I got a couple bangers, and then we're gonna wrap up. I want to
We gotta
know
wrap up. Actually,
what
I
is
think we were
something that
sorry.
artists do that get under your skin.
You mean like the stuff that annoys me, like stuff that
Yes.
grinds my gears? As
What
it were?
grinds your gears that artists do?
I don't know. There isn't really anything that grinds my gears in particular. I guess it annoys me when artists use AI. Like, I don't really like AI.
Yeah.
I think AI is bad.
Damn,
Like,
son.
Agreed.
I've seen good usages of it. Like, I've seen good, interesting usage of it by certain people, but like, for the most part, I don't believe in it. I think like,
Thank you for saying this.
I think within a capitalist framework, AI is very dangerous.
Yeah.
And like if we transition to a place where AI doesn't actively harm the environment or
Yeah,
take away
forgot about
people's
that.
jobs, then yeah, but
That's where I
I don't
struggle
know.
with it. I know a lot of
I
artists that have been through a lot of like automation like stages, who've been around and then use AI and do great things with it. So on one hand, I kind of like it, but on the other hand, you're right. It's like
No,
real rough
I
on the environment,
mean,
and people are losing
yeah.
jobs.
if I
So I
already have a
struggle
problem
with
with the
it.
YouTube tutorial, if I already have a problem with the YouTube tutorials, and people leaning too heavily on that, and AI, it feels even more dangerous
But at
to
the same
creativity.
time-
That's
community
fair.
of creativity.
But at the same time, otherwise, like I really don't like I don't really have any problems with other artists. 'Cause, like it really comes down to what makes you passionate, what like floats your boat, as it were. Like I
I like
wouldn't
that.
want to like I don't really I don't really have any hot takes. Not even because I don't deserve to have a hot take in this regard, but I don't want to be mean like that to other artists. Like I kind of like if somebody makes if there's somebody that makes music that I don't like and they're having a fun time with it and doing it in a way like even I used to be a lot more fierce about using presets. I used to be a lot more like adamant about and like anti preset.
Yeah,
But
I
at
was
this
pretty
point,
anti
it's just
as
like
well. But
but
whatever.
at this point, it's like, if it works, it works. If you use like a splice pack, that's fine. And like, I guess I do have some reservations about using splice packs myself, about using other people's sample packs, and like kind of things being converted into sample packs. But that's
Yeah.
more an industry thing, not an artist thing.
Yeah,
If you find inspiration one way or the other, whatever works, as long as you're not like, I don't know, killing a puppy or something.
Yeah.
You know?
No puppies being good. I used
No
to have
puppies
you
a
don't
problem
like
when I,
you don't like
when I
puppy death wave? Damn, come on.
when I first started making
Gatekeeper.
music. When I first started making music, I had like weird puppy death wave. I had weird things about like, well, I don't ever want to. I need to build every patch myself, and after I use it for one song, I'm not allowed to use it again for another song. I used to create these stupid rules for myself, but maybe I was denying myself
Eventually,
fun
you're building synthesizers yourself.
yeah, for every time I would do it, and it was, I don't know. There's no need
I
to
mean,
be like
sometimes
that.
those rules are very helpful, though. Like, it really comes down
So,
to
I mean, it really did help me learn.
whether
like
they
you
help
said
or whether
earlier.
they don't.
It helped me learn. It helped me, forced me to learn how to, as you said, find my context. So, I mean, yeah, you're right.
He found his special salsa.
I don't know. Maybe.
All right,
I don't
no
know.
more. I'm not gonna say that again. We are down to our last 5 minutes. DVI, it has been a phenomenal evening. I feel like I've
This
stood
was really fun.
among the greats tonight.
Oh, so happy. Yeah, I have a lot
the
of
fact
research to
is,
do. And I gotta go play
we-
with FM synthesis and go look up those music videos.
and I gotta go back and be like, what are all of these things she was talking about?
Most importantly, I really just want to go play with my FM synthesizers
I need
again
to
now. But I'm gonna
educate
do it.
myself.
When I get back to
Oh, at
Philadelphia, I'm
least-
gonna do that.
Well, at least you didn't have to endure my Lois Griffin impersonation.
You heard,
Do you
will
want
we hear it on Hot Takes?
your Lois Griffin?
Do you want?
Well, you
Yes.
do now. Said it,
Oh,
so I
God.
want
Oh,
to
God.
now.
Let me get the flames gif.
Okay. Kita, the horse is here.
Holy
Great way to
crap,
end the
Lois!
interview too. That's a wonderful cherry on top of it.
Yeah, that's the best I got.
We like to
That was
end
good.
our
That was
show.
great.
It
Top
was.
notch.
We like to let
Love it.
our guests kind of just
We
shout
like
out
it, man.
anyone they
Synthesizers
want
now.
and talk about anything they've got coming up. Just promote, shout out, show some love. You have the floor to say whatever you want.
Wow. The floor. I have the floor. I guess like
Promotion,
shout out Renoise. Free Palestine. That's a good one.
Free fucking Palestine.
I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything.
You got-
now,
you
now
got
you
any
got me at a
shows
loss
coming
for
up?
words.
Any particular dates
I'm-
we should
Oh,
be looking for?
I'm playing a show on the 20th.
Oh, okay.
Great.
With
When and
CFCF
where?
and Vitesse X.
Fuck yeah.
In New York. I don't remember the venue off the top of my head, but it's gonna happen. And then I'm playing a Kitty Collective show on the playing a Kitty Collective show at Pasa on the 23rd. I'm not a big fan of it, but it'll be fun. It'll be a fun
It
show.
will. It
I love
will.
Kitty
You'll be
Collective.
there. So, you know.
Pasa's complicated, but trying to think of something else. I'm trying to think of. Oh, I guess. Yeah, I got nothing.
Any physicals or digital
Physicals, yeah.
downloads of recent releases you can point us towards? Where should we go if we want to buy your latest release?
Listen to Reconnects on Bandcamp, on Spotify, and all those things. I highly recommend Shin Megami Tensei 5. I've been having a lot of fun with that. Play that, and also,
it is critically acclaimed, and I am a huge.
great.
We didn't talk about JRPGs at all tonight, Chris. I just want you to
That's
know I
true.
resisted the temptation.
Oh, you could've-
Persona
did
and
not
Shin
resist.
Megami
That was
Tensei
good.
is like
That
the
was
one
fine.
one of the
Do
only
that.
franchises I've not
or
touched.
visual novels.
Yeah, visual novels. Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of that. There's, I guess everybody use a breakbeat that isn't almond break. The almond break's
That's
great, but use
great
something else.
advice.
There we go.
Please,
What about
thank
the
you.
aha
There we go.
break?
Fantastic.
Aha break's great. Helicopter
that.
break's great. Think break's amazing. And just
Or the
let's
guy
take a
that
break
goes-
from the amen break.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've checked it once.
Alright.
I've checked it twice. Your name's not on the list. You're not getting in. More
oh,
of
wait,
that,
there's
please.
actually one thing. There is actually one more thing with
What's that?
the Y2K aesthetic thing. That was like the last thing.
Oh yeah.
Um,
This-
Yeah, I forgot to
Question.
answer that part.
Go for it.
Basically, I don't really think about Y2K. I think about like the closer analog to the vibe that I really like is Gen X Soft Club or Fruitiger Arrow. Y2K is a lot curvier and a lot more like
Rounded edges.
like rounded edges
Rounded
and like
edges.
soft white
Yeah.
things.
It is.
Like
Yeah.
my stuff was never really that. But I do like it. But I'd say I think a lot more in terms of like late 90s things, but I do appreciate the optimism and the futurism. I appreciate the
There's
typography.
a lot of optimism in the Y2K stuff about like, oh, we're all gonna be
Yeah.
floating in space, and we're gonna have the robot dogs that'll give us Pepsi.
Yeah, but I'd say I guess like that. I like that thing, but it's one of those things where it's like I wish that my stuff would be interpreted differently, but it's also I
Yeah.
get why it's part of that. But yeah,
People know
using
that
the
phrase a lot, so
and-
they just
and-
generalize it. Yeah.
I guess Daisuke Asuka is the best. I love him so much. He's my favorite. Also, I love Yaoi.
Shout out
I'm
Yaoi.
gonna end it on that. Yaoi's great.
Yeah.
heard it on Hot Takes.
I'm ending my podcast this way, or your podcast. Watch
DVI,
more Yaoi.
everybody.
Yaoi's great. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You were intimidatingly skilled and knowledgeable.
Great. That was great.
knowledgeable.
I love that. I wrote a
I've
bunch of
learned
stuff
so
down
much.
that I wanna look up.
Yeah, I have
I
so
can't
much
wait.
shit
And I wanna
to
get my
educate
emphasis
myself
as
on.
soon as I get home.
Please keep making amazing art. Everybody, check out DVI's work.
Please go
Not
check
only
it out
is
right
it
now. It's good
adventurous,
stuff. I think
it's
it's the best stuff
highly
out there.
detailed and textured.
Thank you.
It's
It's
very
wonderful. I
consummate
like it a lot.
shit. Check it out.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
And
also
and
watch more Yaoi.
watch more Yaoi
Yeah, dude.
and
That-
more
that's
There you
Family
go.
Guy.
Right? Make
Cool.
sure we end on that.
Yeah.
Family Guy, Family Guy.
And Yaoi. Combine the two.
Family Guy. That's it. That's an ideal night.
Family Guy
if you ask
Yaoi.
me.
Let's do it.
Family Guy. Family Guy Yaoi.
We just had
It
Utopia
feels like
District's
it.
Vapor Rays event starting on Saturday and ending yesterday, and I was able to debut a set that I created in January, and it was a 30-minute neo R&B set with a lot of like Supreme cuts, Magic fades, and probably some other better-known artists that people might know that names are escaping me at the moment. And Dreaming Diary did my visuals, who's in chat
shout
right
out
now.
Dreaming Diary.
And I asked Sebastian out of the blue to help me because Indy was overwhelmed and, well, not overwhelmed, but busy. And he like did some of the coolest visuals I've ever seen for my neo R&B set. It was a very poignant set that I was profoundly proud of, and the visuals were just knocked out of the park. So check that out. It's on my SoundCloud and my YouTube. If you like stuff like, if you like alternative R&B, check it out. Just crying in the club type vibes. And we got, I really hope I'm allowed to say this, but Foo Fest is coming up. It's on the 29th of December. So gosh, if I'm not allowed to say that, I'm sorry. But on the 29th of December, I have I think it's a 20-minute vapor trap and cloud rap set. A lot of funk and just like Memphis rap influence shit that I mixed together. Yeah, a lot of 2014 Dream Catalog stuff mixed with like Memphis rap shit. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I really, I love Saturn Foo, so I tried really hard to bring the A game. So tune in. I don't recall or don't know if it's even been announced where you can tune in for Foo Fest, but it's going to be a lot of good people. Lux says youtube.com/@SaturnFoo. So y'all check that out, December 29th. I think that's all I got. Skelly, what do you have coming up?
January 31st is the Eclipse dance party over at Underground Arts in Philadelphia. We'll have 2 rooms. One room is going to have 90s and 80s goth music, and then the other room is going to have dark synth, funk, and witch house music. I'll be DJing in the witch house room, of course. So come by. It'll be fun.
Are you gonna play any VNV Nation?
Was what?
Are you gonna play any VNV Nation?
Absolutely. That's definitely going down. For sure. Oh,
1242?
Okay, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yes. Definitely. Let me make sure I throw that on the platform. Make sure I put that on our playlist, actually. And then aside from that, Death Romantic is out. I think the cassettes are sold out, but you can still listen to the new album, my new album, Death Romantic, on Bandcamp or Spotify. Thank you.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Jump in our Discord if you like making friends, networking, and arguing about fast food. And if you feel moved to do so, you can donate. All donations go towards equipment upgrades and commissioned art, just giving back to the community. And then, of course, check out our Spotify playlist. I didn't get to promote enough. Rail submitted a best of R&B playlist for y'all to check out. Not to mention Mesh's carefully curated best of the Yuichi Sakamoto playlist that he did just for us. So check those out, along with the shirts that you can buy featuring B-Fance design for Vaporade Live, put on by Quiz and Dom McLennan. You can also check out if you follow this link to watch the entire Twitch VOD for Vaporade Live, where you and I perform back to back. Shout out Quiz.
Sets by you and live set by me.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Quiz and Dom, for putting that on and for such a good cause. And we raised a lot of money.
Absolutely. Free Palestine. So that's it for tonight. And please join us in 2 weeks. We're going to be starting. I don't think I told you this yet, Chris, but we're going to be starting a couple of hours early. Hopefully
I wasn't aware of that.
Hopefully that can be. Hopefully
he's over in the other country.
So we're bringing on. So damn it, I knew I forgot to bring something up. Hopefully that's a thing that we can do on a Monday night. If not, we'll reconvene. It would have to be like 6 p.m.
I think I can do
Can
that.
you do a 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.? Okay, so we're bringing on.
Absolutely.
I think he's in Belgium. Zero Ray will be coming on the show.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Zero Ray, the owner of Ray Records, who makes the really like kind of foreboding sounding music and excellent 3D renders. We'll be bringing them on the show.
He made a cover for me for a thing I haven't released yet.
I didn't know that. That's badass. So Zero Ray's coming on. We're gonna have to do 6 to 8 at twitch.tv/hottakesvapor. Until then, guys, thank you so much for being the best part
Thank you
of Hot
so much
Takes.
for tuning in.
Have an awesome night, and be sure to tune in for Neon Nights tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern. Luxury Elite's own carefully curated radio show. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again.